So here we are in Puerto Rico, and we are at their Museum of their National Cultures. Now, interestingly enough, there used to be El Museo de la Raza de Africana, which was around the corner from here. But they moved it because of rain damage and put the exhibit right here inside the galleries with the others. Now, interestingly enough, Sala Cuatro is the one that contains the history of the African people here in Puerto Rico, from enslavement all the way through abolition and then into more modern times, wherein you'll get to see some of the expressions of the various people of African descent from Puerto Rico who made great contributions to Puerto Rico themselves in literature, in politics, in government, and what else? In baseball. But interestingly enough, it wasn't that long ago when we started talking about transatlantic slave trade and abolition, that abolition even took place here. Now, you all know that we're still in the midst of the commemoration of the abolition of slavery, domestic slavery within the U.S. because of the inception of the Civil War and then later the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation, which took place in 1863. Well, abolition didn't happen here until 1873. 1873, and even at that point, you still have a lot of people then who had blended in and become mestizos. They had become the mulattoes of this area. So now you have a lot of people today who have African ancestry here, who they know it, but they won't necessarily speak about it. If you know it and you speak about it, then they might speak about it as well. But it's very interesting how the exhibition largely looks at a very, very small window of things. And interestingly enough, as you see in the next few clips that are going to be going by, y'all will recognize a lot of the documents that are in the exhibit because why? They're from the Gullah Geechee Nation. They show the repair painting what they claim they're from Charleston, South Skagalaki, whatever using this show, and things like that. Because the people are going to sell them just like that. But they ain't had too much repair painting for what they're going on right here. So it's almost like a hidden and plain view scenario still, because you have the culture, you have it in the communities, but one of the first things you see when you enter are drums. Of course, that connects African people around the world. Music, la música, connects African people around the world. But the real story is still hidden. It's not really being pushed forward. We know that there were different points of entry all throughout the Atlantic Ocean, and Puerto Rico was no exception. So it's interesting that the documents for Puerto Rico until abolition aren't really shown in the exhibit, but they're showing the ones that come from our island, la Islas de la Geechee Nation in Charleston, okay, instead. And so it's really interesting how when you travel the world, the story of African people tends to be connected. How it's there, but no one wants to really talk about it. How it's there, but they put it off from someplace else. So again, where we are in the Gullah Geechee Nation tends to be central in every one of these things that I've come to see around the world. And largely because, as y'all have heard me say at many other presentations and many times here on Gullah Geechee TV Nation News, that Charleston, South Carolina was the #1 enslavement auction block throughout all of North America. All right, and the second one was New York's Wall Street and the East River. So I thought I'd come here to Puerto Rico and see just how much their involvement was, only to once again be taken right on back across the water, back to Charleston through this exhibition and seeing that they're using a lot of the same documents from the folks there. And so as you take this little journey and take a peek at the exhibition itself, I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to be very familiar to you. But Hunter children know, Hunter to deal with me, Hunter going to know this year and what's going on. This year, the La Reina Quet from Puerto Rico. know Schomburg, which we all know of the Schomburg in Harlem. So we have Black Books, Orchestra. We have Jesus Figueroa. We've heard that name, Figueroa, in New York again. We have Syndication, Prudencia, Rivera, Martinez, Politics, Pedro, Abuse of Congress, Hernandez legislation, East Almost, Violet, Sylvia Riyadh, Folklore, Lydia Rios, yeah, reported baseball, okay, Alberto Clemente, oh y'all know that one. Work, London, I've got business to run. Yes, there's a lot of African heritage here and a lot of connections to us in the Geechee Nation besides just being islands. Very interesting to find out about Miguel Enriquez, who is an Angolan man who participated in uprisings right here on this island, just like the many Angolans who were part of the uprising called the Stone Rebellion on our islands in the Geechee Nation. So keep reading, keep learning, keep staying tuned. This here is Queen Quet, head on the body of this show, Gullah Geechee Nation. And so glad that you can tune in to Gullah Geechee TV station. It's 100 to know this show of what going on. Well, Hunter chillin'. We're so glad that Hunter tuned into this year Gullah Geechee TV Nation News segment from Puerto Rico. We hope that Hunter the Yeti plenty thing what Hunter know before, but not just who we be in the Gullah Geechee Sea Islands, but put this island too in Puerto Rico and how we regard African culture wherever people are going at. And whenever Hunter are going somewhere, make sure you dig a little bit deeper and things like that for our stand for true who we be everywhere around the world. And this your thing we call African diaspora. So we're so glad that Hunter to tune in for this year Gullah Geechee TV Nation News one more again. And Hunter know and Hunter there with me. Hunter going know that this year the what going on.